Tonight,
the government is listening.
The Premier responds after thousands of people rallied outside the Saskatchewan legislature on Saturday in the name of education funding. Also, this Regina woman lost her hands and her feet to frostbite, but she says her amputations are a blessing.
I got a second chance at life.
Plus,
she's really tough to score on.
A Saskatoon goalie is the first girl to make an elite provincial hockey team for a prestigious Edmonton tournament.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, May 1st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The government of Saskatchewan says it has heard the call for more public education money amid rising inflation and school enrollment. This comes after the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation held a rally at the Legislative Building on Saturday with a huge turnout. Laura Sharpoletti has more on what promises were actually made today.
These are the teachers, parents, and concerned residents who came out in large numbers to call for more classroom funding on Saturday. About 3,500 people, in fact. Premier Scott Moe says he was paying attention and more money is on the way.
The government is listening.
But this morning, Saskatchewan's Education Minister Dustin Duncan told CBC Radio's Morning Edition that teachers at the rally were largely focused on securing salary increases.
We have a contract that's ending with the teachers, and so that is ending in August. And so they're motivated, obviously, to show their support for their sector.
But a Regina labor relations expert says working conditions for teachers are also learning conditions for students.
I think it's critically important that organized labor thinks about the public well-being front and center and not just securing wage increases. And frankly, as someone who was there, I saw a real concern for the general well-being of students and the knowledge economy in Saskatchewan.
Duncan also said it could be hard for divisions to forecast student enrollment numbers at the start of the year, and that is part of the funding issue. The province says immigration has sped up after COVID-19 delays, but it's not sure whether it's simply a growth spurt or the new normal. Regardless, the Premier now says the province will provide further classroom funding.
We need to work with our school divisions to ensure that we are addressing the needs. And if that means that we have to, ambitiously look at interim funding last year, like we did last year, this year, we most certainly are open to doing that.
But the NDP want to see the government be more proactive when it comes to school funding.
Do we want our kids to have the best education that we can provide for them? And then work back from there what that's going to cost.
Beck says the province also needs to address the complex needs of students in the classroom. Moe says he will meet with school divisions within the next 2 weeks. Laura Sharpoletti, CBC News, Regina.
More than 120,000 federal government workers have reached a tentative deal with the Treasury Board. The deal includes a wage increase of 11.5% over 4 years, but the Public Service Alliance of Canada says a provision in the third year of the contract means the increase adds up to just over 12%. The union didn't disclose if there were any work from home provisions, and union members still need to vote on the deal.
The Government of Canada values the important role its employees play in delivering services to Canadians. PSAC members are a vital part of that work, and these agreements will provide them with important benefits and enhancements that recognize their significant contributions.
The agreement comes after a weekend of intense bargaining and 12 days of picketing. The strike was the biggest federal public service work disruption since 1991. About 35,000 Canada Revenue Agency workers are still on strike, and contract negotiations there are ongoing. Saskatchewan families whose loved ones have been missing for more than 6 months gathered today in Regina. They walked together to the missing persons tree in Wascana Park. A nearby bench has now been dedicated to victims and those who miss them. Families also laid flowers and messages for their loved ones. The event marked the start of Missing Persons Week in Saskatchewan. Justice Minister Bronwyn Eyre says improvements have been made to laws and supports in these cases, but she says too many remain unsolved.
Someone one loved suddenly was reported missing initially. Of course, at first you hope for a quick resolution, but in 137 cases currently in this province, that's not happened. And we have to do everything we can to make sure that there are no more missing people, permanently missing people. Do everything we can to prevent it, and I think that's the point of efforts such as this, to raise awareness and to, above all, honor the families, support the families, and remember the victims.
The minister says boys and men account for 70% of long-term missing persons cases and that roughly half of the 137 people are Indigenous. More awareness events are planned this week, including Red Dress Day on Friday. A man wanted for murder in Saskatoon is being featured in a national campaign aimed at flushing out fugitives. The Be on the Lookout program unveiled its top 25 most wanted in a creative way this morning.
For those who are present, it may have felt uncomfortable walking through the life-size cutouts of these most wanted individuals. And it should. These 25 individuals are wanted for crimes that have taken lives, altered lives, and left trauma that will outlive us all.
A life-size cutout was set up at Yonge and Dundas in Toronto for each of the 25 fugitives. Number 10 on the list is wanted by Saskatoon police. Jonathan Ouellette Gendron is facing a first-degree murder charge in connection to a brazen daylight shooting in the city's Nutana neighborhood last year. The victim was Brandon Baxendall. The fugitives announced today come from 14 different police jurisdictions across Canada, as well as the United States. A doctor who treats people addicted to drugs says a spike in overdoses has also meant an increase in amputations. It can be the devastating consequence of losing consciousness in the bitter cold. But for one Regina woman, it's also meant a second chance at life. Bonnie Allen brings us her story.
She is folding her laundry. She's flipping her laundry.
Patricia Beston-Fayant is figuring out a new way to do almost everything. Last year, she had to have both hands and both feet amputated due to extreme frostbite. And she says it was actually a blessing in disguise. Now living in a rehab facility, the 29-year-old Regina woman wakes up grateful.
Every single day that I wake up, yes.
Every single day?
Yes, I'm very happy where I am now. I haven't been this happy in so long. So if this is how I have to be happy, I don't really care, really.
Because this is much better than 10 years of drug addiction, choosing crystal meth and fentanyl over family.
We prayed all the time that she would open her eyes and come back to us.
In the beginning, they wanted to help and get me more help, but I wasn't never ready at that time. My mom and my kids moved to Calgary because I always would pop in there all messed up on drugs.
Then in December 2021, while out hunting for drugs, she fell asleep in the cold. She barely woke up, and the tissue damage was so severe in her hands and feet they turned black and couldn't be saved. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says the province has dealt with at least 30 amputations caused by frostbite in the last 2 years.
When someone's overdosed, you're out.
This doctor says anecdotally most were people who were on the streets and addicted to drugs.
The fact that we've had such an increase in the number of overdoses overall, not only here in Saskatchewan but across the country, across all of North America with fentanyl, is likely driving the fact that we're seeing, unfortunately, more of these, severe outcomes.
I was scared and kind of thinking at the same time, now I can't do drugs, so what am I going to do now? Because I wanted to get sober for so long.
She's like, we got Trisha back.
Beston-Fayant wants to see more shelter and services to help people who are homeless and addicted to drugs. Her road to recovery won't be easy, but she finally feels like herself again.
I got a second chance at life, and I'm going to do it right.
and she won't have to do it alone. Bonnie Allen, CBC News.
The countdown to the beginning of the Canadian Football League season begins tomorrow. The top Canadian college players will be front and center for the annual CFL draft. Rough Riders GM Jeremy O'Day has stayed tight-lipped on his draft strategy, but many people wanted to know about the offensive line.
Reality is we're planning on playing with 3 Canadian O-linemen, right? So we have 2 guys, the one that's been a 2-year starter for us, one that's been starting for 4 years in our league, and we signed Peter Godber in free agency for a reason. So that's 3 pretty good players, and we signed Philip Blake, who's been a 3rd-round NFL draft pick. He's been here and he's been an all-star in our league, and he can play multiple positions. So he's in the mix with those guys as well. We have Logan Bandy that we drafted a couple years ago that played 10 games for us. That's pretty good. And then we have 2 guys that we drafted last year, one in the 2nd and one in the 3rd, that are coming back to camp. So my math, if you're starting with 3 and you have 7, it's just a matter of if you think that you can draft someone at that spot that's going to be an improvement to the players that you have.
The CFL Global Draft is also tomorrow morning, with training camp kicking off May 14th in Saskatoon. The Riders will hit the field for the first time May 27th, hosting the BC Lions. Well, it is the season. Street sweeping is officially underway in Saskatoon as of today. Neighborhood priority streets, 10 of them are on the docket for this week. Then, next week, residential streets start. Regina crews, they've been at it for 2 weeks already, starting with high priority roads in downtown. Then we'll work their way into residential. The key thing to watch for, those no parking signs, because they will tow your vehicle out of the way. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. The coronation of King Charles is just 5 days away. It represents a major change for the monarch. Adrienne Arsenault recently spoke about that with the King's sister, Princess Anne. Here's part of that interview, which airs tonight in full on The National.
Here we are again on the cusp of history, the King's coronation just a few days away now. What is that future going to look like in a world where some countries are cutting ties with the monarchy, others are thinking about it, support is shifting, and uncertainty about the new king is very real? We got a rare opportunity to put some of those questions to the Princess Royal, Princess Anne. She's considered the hardest working royal, more engagements than even her brother, the king. She doesn't do many interviews. This was her only Canadian conversation, so we got right to it with the question about what's ahead.
I think for my brother, this is something he's been waiting for, and he's probably spent more time thinking about it. For the rest of us, it's more a question of, okay, we have to shift the way we support, and that's what we need to do.
And what does that shift look like for you?
Well, we don't know yet. My mother didn't change very much. We kind of knew what the rhythm of the year was, so things like that will change, and how we get, how we are part of the support for the monarchy may change slightly. Who knows?
Sometimes people refer to a slimmed down monarchy. I can't imagine what that might mean for a role like yours. I don't know how many more hours in the day you have to take more things on.
Well, I think the slim down was said in a day when there were a few more people around to make that seem like a justifiable comment.
The world changes a bit.
It changes a bit. I mean, not least of all passage of time and cousins getting older. And anyway, it was the logic. No, it doesn't sound like a good idea from where I'm standing, I have to say. I'm not quite sure what else we can do.
So a conversation about what's ahead, to be sure, but she also spoke of the effect of the last few years on her family, what COVID did, for example, to her mother, the Queen, as well as Prince Philip. And she spoke of her experience escorting her mother's coffin across the country. A princess's perspective, tonight on The National.
The crowning of Charles and his wife Camilla, who will become queen, takes place at Westminster Abbey on Saturday. Adrienne Arsenault will host coverage starting at 2 a.m. local time. You can watch it on CBC TV and News Network, CBC Gem, and CBC News Explore.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Super Sierra and SUV sale is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I wonder if you're an SPF 30 or an SPF 50 kind of guy.
About an SPF 150, I think. I'm basically, transparent here, see-through. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely need the sunscreen these next few days here. It has been very warm, very sunny. In fact, let's take a look right now at current temperatures across the province. We were wondering who's going to be the first to 20 degrees. Well, my goodness, there are a lot of locations all along the western side of the province, all the way up to Uranium City. That are in that range right now. Edmonton getting close to 30 degrees today. They're dealing with forest fires, wildfires in that part of the province, and really all through west central Saskatchewan. We're seeing that warm air start to move in. A little cooler again eastward, but really Regina, Wynyard, Hudson Bay into the mid-teens. That's pretty much average for this time of year. Winds starting to pick up a little bit in areas where it's been a bit warmer. And that dryness and that wind is fueling a couple of out-of-control wildfires. No evacuations at this point, but a couple of that the Saskatchewan Public Safety Association are noting at this point. One on Highway 55 near Pierceland, just kind of northwest of Meadow Lake, and another one near the Buffalo River Dene Nation, just west of Buffalo Narrows. There was also one near Prince Albert. It's been controlled, but there is still a little bit of smoke in the area. And we are just a bit above the 5-year average right now for fires. We've already had 41 so far. And there are some fire bans in place. Take a look. If you're in any of these RMs, there is no burning or fires allowed. And if you're in the RM of Payton, that is a fire restriction that is in place. So you can do certain activities, but you're asked to contact the fire chief just in case if you happen to do any other burning. Now, the fire risk really through all the province is now at a high level, and especially in southwestern Saskatchewan, that's where we're seeing that extreme risk. So that is why those bans are in place. And really over these next few days here, I think this ridge in the jet stream going to continue to fuel that nice warm air. If you're in portions of southern Ontario and southern Quebec, this has been just a really not good start to May. It's been very wet, temperatures in the single digits, even some snow after a big storm system through the Great Lakes region. But that warm air continuing to fuel us here in Saskatchewan. That's just one part of it. The other reason is this high pressure, which is over eastern sections of the province. A little bit of low pressure starting to move in as that high moves out. That's going to bring some cloud cover and rain to the north tonight and tomorrow. But south and central tomorrow should stay mostly sunny with that high still kind of in the region. And then another weak high pressure area bringing some clear conditions for pretty much all of us as we head into Wednesday. And that will keep winds fairly light, some breezy conditions here and there as we head through both Tuesday and Wednesday, but certainly nothing like we saw over last week when I guess we're in the 60 to 70 range in a lot of places. And here is the very summer-like forecast with temperatures well above normal over these next few days. But it's not all dry. We are going to get a little bit of rain probably over the weekend in Regina, Saskatoon, and central Saskatchewan. A little bit on the drier side this next little while here, but still temperatures quite nice. A little breezy here and there. But overall, there's summer, Sam. We've just skipped right over spring and headed into another season.
No kidding. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
A young panda in China is showing a lot of love for zoo staff, and since a video camera was at the ready, Jiran the panda got online attention as well. A media platform devoted to pandas, yes, there is one, provides round-the-clock antics. It's also created a fan base for the 10-month-old. We'll be back after the break. A 9-year-old girl from Saskatoon is gearing up to play for Team Saskatchewan at a prestigious hockey tournament in Edmonton this summer. Honor Arcand-Vandale is the first girl to ever make the team. And as Dan Zakreski reports, the goalie is already turning heads.
It's conditioning day for the junior Blades. The young players are getting put through their paces at the Canlan Arena on a weekday afternoon. The boys are peppering Honor Arcand-Vandale with shots. Multiple shooters sending pucks at the same time may be the only way to score on the 9-year-old girl. Just listen to her teammates.
She's really tough to score on, and I would usually go top corner, but it never works. It's just pretty tough to score on her sometimes.
Honor started to skate before she was 2, before she could even spell her own name. Growing up in a sports family has meant playing outside year-round. But she always came back to the rink. She started to play goal for fun, and then about 2 years ago, her dad noticed the change.
I think the hand-eye coordination, the movements, like some of the movements she has side to side in the net, it looked like a goalie. So and I thought, where did she get this from?
Having two older brothers who are stars in their own right helped build the grit it takes to stand between the pipes. Her coach on the junior Blades knows the boys.
I think growing up with Cash and Nixon, you knew that she was going to be tough. So, her and the whole family, just the ability for those kids they're always playing, they don't take it easy on her.
The hours, days, and weeks of practice paid off for Honor. This spring, she made the provincial team that will represent Saskatchewan at the Brick Invitational Tournament in Edmonton. It draws the best under-10 players from across Canada and the U.S. Her folks filmed the final shootout at the tryouts. Team manager Todd Ripplinger says that's when she earned a spot on the team.
She got it! She was awesome that day. She really competes hard. She's athletic. She's got really good hands. She's good with her blocker, good with her glove. But ultimately, like during her tryouts and what we watched her throughout the year, her will to compete is off the charts.
Honor is the first girl to ever make Saskatchewan's team. But she was at the tournament 4 years ago to watch her brother play.
Honor would not take her eyes off this girl that was playing for Detroit. And the play could be in one end of the ice, but she's watching what the girl was doing, the movements and stretching and stuff. And at the end of the game, she said, "Dad, I think I'm going to play in this tournament when I'm older, or old enough." And I was like, you keep thinking that and brushed it off kind of thing, and never even thinking, because she wasn't a goalie at the time, right? So, and I was pretty excited that she got the call saying that she made the team.
Practice is wrapping up with a scrimmage. Honor is finally ready to sit down and field questions. She turns back into a shy 9-year-old when the camera comes on. She deflects questions like she blocks shots. But the answer to one question jumps out. What does she like about playing goal?
Robbing people and blocking shots and sometimes getting shutouts.
And she hopes to do just that when she faces the best players from across North America at the West Edmonton Mall at the end of June. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
A good day to call in sick over the next couple of days. I can hear the calls coming in now. In Regina, we will start with clear conditions overnight tonight. Winds will be fairly light out of the southeast, and then that sunshine returning for tomorrow. Already 7 degrees by 8 a.m. Winds will be out of the south, close to around 30, but they are not going to get too much stronger than that. We'll head toward the afternoon. We're already at 17 degrees under mainly sunny skies, and in Saskatoon, we're looking for it to be even warmer. We're sitting at 9 degrees in the overnight hours tonight. Mainly clear skies. We'll head into tomorrow and look for mainly sunny conditions also at 9 degrees. Won't budge much, but we will possibly get to the 20-degree mark even by the afternoon with winds just a little bit out of the south. Ordering those tubs of sunscreen for myself now, Sam.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that, Ethan.
Yeah, thank you.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website, cbc.ca/sask, or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. We're preempted by hockey on the network tomorrow night, but you can find us online at 6 p.m. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.